Peter and Julia, I'm coming to you on the subject of nationalism. And before we do, we're going to run the president from his rally last night and again today in the Oval Office.
You know what I am? I'm a nationalist, okay?
Mr. President, just to follow up on your comments about being a nationalist, there is a concern that you are sending coded language or a dog whistle to some Americans out there that what you really mean is that you're a white nationalist.
I've never even heard that. I cannot imagine that. You mean I say I'm a nationalist? No, I never heard that theory about being a nationalist. I've heard them all. But I'm somebody that loves our country. When I say a nationalist,
Peter Baker, to folks of a certain age, they remember Charles Lindbergh. Other folks have their own touch points in the history of the word nationalism. Can you run through the brief history and why it just rings like a bell with some people?
Well, that's right. Exactly. Look, I was in Houston last night, and the idea of nationalism, meaning, if it's used as an equivalent of patriotism, is one thing. But there's a reason why presidents use the word patriotism and not nationalism. And that is to say that it does have a freighted history. It does go back to, in this country, among other things, the pre-World War II era with the Charles Lindbergh-led America First Committee that was isolationist and even vaguely sympathetic to the Nazis. It has a history with other countries around the world and movements around the world that is not usually the message that presidents want to send. Critics will say that nationalism is code for racism or anti-Semitism. Now, President Trump is saying, I'm not meaning it that way. I'm meaning it, in effect, as America above others. My job as the United States president is to represent the United States. And therefore, in that sense, he says he means it, in effect, as equivalent of patriotism. But he uses the word very carefully, and he knows the impact it has. And he even said last night in Houston when I was there, he says, I know we're not supposed to use this word. So when he tells Jim Acosta today that he didn't know that it had some bad connotations among some people, it seems in conflict with his own statement last night.
Julia, I see you nodding. What does nationalism mean to you?
All the wonderful things. I'm nodding because I agree with Peter always. But, I think aside from white nationalism, I think it's part of what this administration, or Trump in particular, and his advisors like Stephen Miller have wanted to do from the beginning, which is relitigate a lot of the things that have been set up, a lot of the structures and treaties that have been set up in the post-World War II era to keep us safe and prosperous and at peace. And some of that apparently involves relitigating whether or not nationalism is a bad word or not. And in fact, it is. And I think what's also interesting is this, again, plays right into the Kremlin's hands. Before the Kremlin, Putin in particular, was hamstrung by the Obama administrations and the Bush administrations and the Clinton, all kind of, and any American administration he's dealt with, on insisting on a rules-based international order, again, the one that was developed after World War II. Now, Trump is saying, you know what, Vladimir Putin, let's do this. Let's go back to 19th century ideas of nationalism, spheres of influence. You move your chess pieces here, I move them there. And it's all just a big game of risk. And we don't care about human rights. We don't care about any of the people that become collateral damage, as long as, we're nationalists and we care about our countries first.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.